This video will be about the many adaptations and designs of the dreaded monsters called the cranium reptant, or also called the Skullcrawlers, that was seen in the 2017 Kong Skull Island movie. They are large reptilian creatures with only two long forelimbs and no legs, as well as long prehensile serpentine tails. But we won't just be describing their appearance and structure, but also dive into the inspirations for the makers of the movie to create such an intimidating creature. We will be taking a few points on where they came up with the body structure of these monsters and their faces, their bloodlust and also their eyes, the jaws and other features. Many were taken from other fictional monsters, but some were also adapted from real-life creatures. So here it goes. The body. Let us start with the body of the Skullcrawler. As you can all see, it has a very long tail and two legs but no forelimbs. Or it might be the other way around, two forelimbs and no legs. As original as it may seem for a giant creature that has to fight another giant creature, it won't be the first time such a design has been put forth by film producers. In fact, the first ever giant monster movie, the one with King Kong himself, has such an animal. It was called the two-legged lizard, and this is one of the only officially stated inspirations for the design of the Skullcrawlers. This creature appeared to be climbing a cliff in one of the scenes in the 1933 King Kong flick. It won't be the only creature to inspire a King Kong villain in modern remakes, the other being the T-Rex, which gave way to the 2005 Vastatosaurus Rex. The face. So if you look at the face of the Skullcrawler, it looks like it is just a skull without any skin or flesh to cover it up. Even though it had a thin layer of skin over the skeletal features, the looks of the creature seems to reek of death and decay. The inspirations of this strange facade comes from two of anime's very popular franchises, one being Pokemon and the other being Spirited Away. The Pokemon that resembles the Skullcrawler's face is the Cubone, and from Spirited Away it would be no face. Since the Skullcrawler had to represent a hypercarnivore that was also a kaiju, it was in need of a fresh facial design not covered by Toho in the past. Thus came the skeletal features inspired by anime. The exoskeleton. Going down from the head and face, we come to the body and especially the upper torso. And not surprisingly enough, it also has the skeletal features that seem to protrude from the skin and outwards like a pseudo-exoskeleton, protecting the creature's insides. For this part of the body, the designs came from the xenomorph of the Alien franchise. The xenomorph aliens are the ultimate life forms, and they had some sort of bony exoskeleton that covered the entire body, especially the ribs and the shoulders, which were also seen in the Skullcrawlers designs, as the ribs seemed to protrude out of the body, and even the spine from the back and the prehensile tail. The jaw. So going back to the head, we forgot to discuss about a very important feature, which is the jaw. Although it is a part of the face of the Skullcrawler, we decide to discuss it separately, as the monster had the jaws that were very similar to that of the Mosasaurus. And what is a Mosasaurus, you say? It is an extinct marine reptile that lived during the time of the dinosaurs and died out along with them. This creature had a very long and slender snout and teeth that were conical and sharp, excellent for grabbing and tearing apart flesh. These extinct creatures had very powerful jaw strength as well, with a bite force of 33,000 pounds per square inch, which was at least as powerful as the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The eyes. Now for the eyes, and most notably, what appears to be the eye sockets of their skull-like heads are merely empty openings. Their real eyes are set much further back, with the opening or sockets perhaps serving to distract enemies from their more vulnerable eyes, and they also act as heat-seeking sensory pits. A real-life animal that has such an adaptation is the king of the oceans. A killer whale's eyes are on each side of its head, just behind and above the corner of its mouth and in front of its white eye spot. The most popular theory is that the orca eye spots protect their actual eyes by providing a false target, and in the same way the Skullcrawlers also evolved to have false eye spots to distract enemies. The reptilian gills. In the novelization, it is stated that the Skullcrawlers are amphibious, as Weaver mentioned as one in the boneyard had gills. This is similar to the monsterverse Godzilla, who is also a reptile but strangely possesses gills. But the question arises as to why they never left the island and go out hunting somewhere else. Well, for one, these skullcrawlers are hyper-carnivorous and were in a constant state of starvation, and hunting in the open seas would have taken way too much of their energy, as they might not be so much adapted to catching fishes and marine life forms. Therefore, they might have just died in the open seas. But they did try to reach out to Ghidorah's alpha call, but were killed by Kong when they tried to leave the island. The MIMICRY. The novelization states that the skullcrawlers can mimic human cries and that this was the reason and cause of Gunpei Ikari's death, as he and Marlowe mistook one for an Iwi child crying. The book also suggests that the largest skullcrawlers appeared when it did because it somehow sensed that Kong was down and might have understood and heard certain sounds that were familiar to when Kong's parents cried out in pain. The inspirations for the Skullcrawlers adaptation is taken from the Predator. This alien can imitate sounds of humans and use it to lure them into a trap during a hunt. This feature was also seen in Wrath of the Titans when the Minotaur actually mimicked human sounds to attract Perseus and the others. The Bloodlust. Skullcrawlers possess accelerated metabolism which causes them to live in constant starvation. This is shown when the big one ravenously tried to eat Weaver and refused to let go of Kong's arms. It was also shown that they have a deep desire of killing and eating humans, which was shown several times when the big one diverted his attention from Kong to James Conrad and Mason Weaver, implying that he acts not only from primal instinct but also some degree of malice and cruelty. This is quite reminiscent of the way the vastatosaurus rexes of the 2005 King Kong movie acted towards Ann Darrow in the scene where they were battling Kong, but also trying to eat them both, even in near-death situations for them. From falling off the cliff and hanging on vines, they just wouldn't stop. The tongue. The skullcrawlers had prehensile tongues that were used to grab and quickly devour small prey, and all for gripping large prey in combat. The usage of these tongues was seen very clearly throughout the movie, as when they were tracking the scent of humans, and also during the scene in the boneyard when one of the skullcrawlers quickly shot out its tongue like a chameleon and in a very fast movement quickly pulled the person back into its mouth. This adaptation is seen in real-life chameleons and other lizards. The forked design of the tongue, however, is an adaptation seen in snakes as they capture scent in the air to track down their prey. So before we end the video, do check out our Teespring store as we have MindQ mugs, tees, hoodies, masks, phone cases and more. We'd love your support. If you like the mugs, then there are 2 Titan silhouette designs on both sides of one, and we paired Godzilla with Ghidorah, Rodan and Mothra and the other Titans as well. So grab one for a fresh cup of coffee. We also update our store every once in a while with new designs. So now we come to the end of this video. So do like, share and subscribe, and for the ones that are always there, thank you for your support. And for the new ones, please subscribe and hit that notification bell for regular updates.